Hi everyone, welcome to part 13 of vendor risk management video series. In this video, we'll talk about vendor tiering. So if you see here under vendor risk, there is a section called tiering assessments. So you have three options, three modules, my open tiering assessments, all open tiering assessments, and all tiering assessments. So let's click on all tiering assessments. The table name is SN underscore VDR underscore risk underscore ASMT, the prefix underscore vendor tiering assessment. So it is VDR underscore tiering underscore assessment. The suffix is VTA, vendor tiering assessment. Now here you can see whether the tiering assessment can be applicable to a vendor or an engagement. And if you have a hierarchical setup where you have multiple child vendors to a vendor or subsidiaries to a vendor, and if each of them have engagements, then all of them will can have their own specific tiering assessment. Let's open this record here. So there are 4 states: draft, awaiting response, tiering assessment, and closed. So the assigned to is the person to which this is assigned. So generally it will be a risk manager or a risk assessor, and they will assign this tiering assessments. So the questionnaire to various like department owners so that they can assess the vendors. So if you see here, if you look at the assessment instance, it is assigned to a person called Adam. If you see the assessment instance and view user response, you can see what is the response provided by this. Name of relationship with vendor, is it transactional or strategic? Does this vendor provide a strategic, competitive, operational advantage? So basically, these are all like a group of questions, and then nature of interaction with vendor and impact on compliance and risk assessment. So there are all these questions, and the values are populated based on what is the response provided. Now we'll look at how this uh, questionnaires are assigned. So we'll go to vendor risk and tiering setup, tiering questionnaire, and default vendor tiering scale. So if you see here, basic and sample questionnaire. So if you go to sample questionnaire, you can see that it has 3 metric categories. Name of relationship with vendor. If you have observed, that's what you have seen. Name of relationship with vendor, which matches with this one here. And then we have 3 questions under that. Does this vendor provide a strategic, competitive, or operational advantage now or in future? Does this vendor provide operational, all that stuff, right? Competitive or operational advantage now or in future. So basically, these are mapped back here, and each of this category becomes a section here. And now, then we have this weight of each of these questions. So if we expand it, so each of them have a weight of 300, 400, 500, and so on. And roles are also assigned to each of these categories. So which means we can control like who can see this category of questions, if it's a contract manager or assessment reviewer, and if no role is assigned, then everybody can see. So that is how this is controlled. And then depending on the answer provided, you have a value associated to that, like if it's a Boolean or if it's a scale, you have a value for that. And then there is, so once the assignee of this assessment submits this responses, then a tiering score is assigned. For example, in this case, it is 67. And because it is 67, which is 60 to 79, so it is a high. The tier level of this vendor is marked as high. Now, if you go to the vendor, the tier level should reflect that. The view of this will be vendor risk, and vendor tier is very high. Again, this depends on average of all such assessments which are there for this vendor, and accordingly that gets picked up. So we only have, okay, the tier level is very high for this. So that is why it got picked up. Let's open this. So if you see here, it's assigned to Adam Hero, and then yeah, here the tiering score is 49. 49. Okay, I'm sure there should be an override here. Yeah, the tier level is very high. That is where this is coming as very high onto the onto the vendor record here. But basically, this is how it is done. Uh, yeah. So let's impersonate as this user and see how this assessment looks like. So we'll go here, impersonate user, search for Athena, impersonate, and they will look for survey, my assessment and service. Okay, here you should see one survey. So if you see here, this one is a onboarding assessment for a vendor called Acer, and it's assigned to a risk manager, but the tiering assessor is Athena Fontaine, Fonalia, Fonalia, Fonalia. So this person is, that's where this assessment went to this person, right? And tiering score, if you see, uh, if it's like 80 to 100, it is very high, and so on and so forth. And tiering questionnaire is this. Uh, so next we'll talk about how we can submit an assessment based on the, the tier level. So, so to do that, we'll go to vendor risk and we'll look for a module called assessment submission rules. And here we'll say tier based submission. So if you go here, so depending on the vendor tier, the corresponding assessment template is applied. Now if you want to create a new one here, you can say vendor is equal to Varan Electric, and assessment template can be security assessment moderate risk, and tier is moderate. Auto submit to vendor. So which means whenever the vendor tier changes, this gets automatically submitted. Now vendor tier gets changed based on tiering assessment, but we will try to change that manually here to moderate and save. So when we do that, it should in the backend submit an assessment automatically. So as you can see here, the assessment is automatically sent, and in the assessments we should see a new one which is submitted to vendor. That happened automatically. So that is how this is done, tier-based assessment submission. So thank you for watching. So in this video, we have seen how to do a tier-based assessment and how to automatically submit assessments to vendor based on the tier change or vendor tier. A vendor tier can be moderate, or yeah, it's 1 through 5, like very low to very high, and moderate. So that is So that is the scope of this video. Thank you for watching.